This chapter is told from the perspective of 14-year-old Jon Snow, the bastard son of Lord Eddard Stark. So, at this point in the book, Jon Snow is at Castle Black, training with the other new recruits of the Night's Watch. Life here isn't turning out how he imagined. He's realizing that the Night's Watch isn't filled with noble warriors like he thought. It's full of criminals, outcasts, and rough men from all walks of life. This chapter gives us a deep look into Jon's struggles to fit in, his frustrations with how he's treated, and how slowly things begin to shift for him, especially after some big news from Winterfell.
The training yard echoed with clashing swords. Jon Snow was drenched in sweat under layers of leather and mail, going all in during his sparring match. He took down Grenn, big guy but clumsy, and ended the fight with a solid move that would have seriously injured Grenn if their blades had been smatch. Sir Alliser Thorne, the master-at-arms and full-time jerk, wasn't impressed. Even though Jon clearly won, Alliser threw shade, like usual, mocking both Jon and the rest of the recruits. He made it clear Jon wasn't winning respect, just making enemies. After the fight, Jon walked back alone. Despite being surrounded by other trainees, he had no real friends here. He found them all slow, scared, or weak. Nothing like Robb back at Winterfell. The cold here wasn't just in the air, it was in the walls, the people, the whole place. Jon stripped off his gear, shivering even with the fires burning. He sat, remembering Winterfell's warm halls, wondering if his father knew what kind of life he was sending him into. Even his uncle Benjen Stark had turned distant. When Jon asked to go ranging with him, Benjen shut him down cold, saying, "You're no ranger, Jon, just a boy." That hit hard. The next morning, Jon watched Benjen ride out beyond the wall, and a terrifying thought struck him. What if Benjen never came back? What if he died out there? Back in his cell, Jon buried his face in Ghost's fur, trying to find comfort. But even prayer didn't help. There was no godswood here, just a broken-down sept and a drunk septon. If the gods existed, they weren't helping. He missed home. Rickon, Robb, Bran, even Sansa and Arya, especially Arya. That girl, wild and scrappy as she was, always made him smile. Suddenly, Grenn and a few other boys showed up. They weren't there to chat, they wanted payback. One insulted Jon's mother, calling her a whore. That was it. Jon snapped, fought back, hard. It got ugly fast, until Donal Noy, the armourer, stormed in and broke it up. Donal made everyone leave, except Jon. What followed was a raw, honest talk. Jon was fuming, saying his mother wasn't a whore, that his father was honourable, but Donal didn't sugarcoat it. "Honour didn't stop Lord Stark from fathering a bastard, did it?" That one stung. Donal reminded Jon, yeah, he was better trained. He came from privilege. The other boys? They'd never even seen a real sword before coming here. They learned to fight on the streets, not in castle courtyards. "So how do your victories taste now, Lord Snow?" Jon's anger faded. For the first time, he saw it differently. Maybe he had been a bit of a bully. Maybe his wins weren't earning respect, just making enemies. Outside, the sun was shining on the wall, making it blaze blue and bright. Even now, the sight still gave Jon chills. That wall was old, massive, and constant. It reminded him this wasn't a game, this was the edge of the world. Just then, Tyrion Lannister appeared, wrapped up like a little bear in fur. The two walked together, talking about what lay beyond the wall. Tyrion, sharp as ever, dropped one of his classic lines. "When one man builds a wall, the next man needs to know what's on the other side." They talked about Ghost, about how Jon lived alone in an old tower, about how the Night's Watch was falling apart. Jon preferred solitude anyway. He said the others were scared of Ghost. Tyrion called that smart. Then Tyrion mentioned something that hit Jon hard. People were whispering that Benjen Stark had been gone too long. Rangers were disappearing. Jon tried to brush it off, but that fear came creeping back. As they headed into the common hall, the place was loud and full of crows, both the men and the birds in the rafters. Jon grabbed some stew and sat far away from the others, but Tyrion joined him. That's when Sir Alliser showed up. "The Lord Commander wants to see you. Now." Instant panic. Jon blurted out, "Is it my uncle? Is he back?" But Thorne snapped, saying this was about Jon's half-brother. That hit like a gut punch. Jon sprinted through the snow, heart pounding, boots soaked, until he burst into Lord Commander Mormont's chambers. "What does it say about Bran?" Mormont didn't speak right away, just handed him a letter. Robb's handwriting, Stark seal. Jon started crying before he could even read it clearly. "He woke up," he whispered. "The gods gave him back." Mormont told him the truth. Bran was crippled. But Jon didn't care. His brother was alive. He ran out, beaming, holding the letter like it was treasure. "My brother is going to live!" he shouted to anyone who'd listen. Back in the hall, he grabbed Tyrion and spun him around, nearly crushed him with joy. Then he noticed Gren again. The guy looked worried, bandaged up. Jon approached, apologized for his wrist, even offered to help him learn to block that move. It was a turning point, a real one. Thorne, of course, had to ruin it. "Lord Snow wants to take my place now." Jon didn't miss a beat. "I'd love to see Ghost juggle." Boom. The whole room erupted in laughter. Even Gren chuckled. Everyone was laughing, except Thorne. His face went dark. His sword hand twitched. "That was a grievous error, Lord Snow," he said, voice cold as the wall. So this chapter ends with Jon slowly starting to understand the reality of the Night's Watch. He learns to see the other recruits differently, begins to break down the wall between them, just a little. And, for the first time, maybe, he starts to become one of them. But he also makes an enemy who won't forget that final insult.